Fenway Park.
Welcome to Boston Territory, ladies and gentlemen. We are here late tonight. It is a late Friday night episode here. We've had a crazy week over here. My goodness. We've had Lou Merloney on the show. Tim Healy came on the show earlier in the week. We've had stuff going on over on the main channel this past week. I also caught a bit of a cold. I'm starting to get over that now. And also, my Twitter account got hacked, or X account, whatever you want to call it these days. I still call it Twitter. But yes, unfortunately, I got hacked. I don't know how. I've never put my information in any sort of a third party or anything. So I don't know what happened. If anyone out there can help me with my Twitter account, that would be amazing. I have put in a report for it, but hey, I guess no one really works at the X headquarters anymore, so or at least, I don't know, there's only a few people or whatever it is, but I'm still waiting to get some help on that account. So just letting you all know, if you see anything that I've posted there, whether I have seen the last couple, there was one about like a Dodge Ram truck and like a new house. Listen, I would love to have a new house. I would love to have a new truck, but yeah, that's not me. That's the hacker putting all that stuff. And I do apologize about that. I don't know how that happened. Again, I've never really put my information out there. I thought maybe that's what it was, but I thought about it. I'm like, nope, I've never used my Twitter information anywhere else. So I don't know how that happened, but I do apologize about that. But please disregard anything there. Anyway, on with the show. We got a few things to talk about tonight. Nothing crazy. We don't got a long one here tonight because there's still really not a whole lot to talk about. We did have some roster moves. We had the non-tender deadline here today. A few transactional moves this past week. More to create room on the 40-man roster. A couple of interesting moves. I'm going to dive into those. Alex Cora, he also joined Foul Territory a couple of days ago. I'll dive into some of the comments that he made as well. And the big one, the big story for this episode here tonight is we've gotten a little something from John Morosi this past week, Alex Spear as well of the Boston Globe, suggesting that the Red Sox may only go after one bat, and that does include Alex Bregman. And so basically what I'm saying is it going to be Alex Bregman or Pete Alonso / Kyle Schwarber? I'm going to give you my thoughts on that. I'm not very happy about that one. That's not making me feeling like that's enough for the Red Sox this offseason, just to tell you right off the bat. But I'll give you my thoughts on that in just a little bit. Everybody, if you can, hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 6K by opening day. One more time, please don't pay attention to anything that's been posted on that Twitter account over the last couple of days. You'll know when it's me. I promise you, you'll know when it's me. Whenever I do get my account back, it won't be about a house or a truck. You'll know it's me. But how we doing, everybody? How we doing? G-Mag's in the chat. John in the chat. John says here, hopefully you're doing okay. Bitcoin was down 7,000. I don't want to hear anything about crypto or anything like that. My goodness, I am over all that. No more of that. The stupid hacker that just ruined my week. But let's get into it here. Let's get into it. And we got a few roster moves that happened this past week. Nothing crazy by any means. Today was the non-tender deadline. Nathaniel Lowe, he was DFA'd, but in the end, non-tendered contract as well. Josh Winkowski. Nathaniel Lowe, I'm not really surprised about. I do think there is a slim chance he could return to the Red Sox at some point. If the offseason doesn't fully go their way, let's say, they don't land a Pete Alonso. Let's say they swing and miss on Kyle Schwarber, even someone like a Kazuma Okamoto, or in the trade market, whatever it may be. I wonder if Nate Lowe could be like a last resort kind of an option. He did play well for the Red Sox after coming over. Sure, he made the error in the postseason there, but Overall, he was a solid bat. He came up with some clutch hits, and he was looking like his old self, like we saw with the Rangers not too long ago. We'll see what ends up happening. I wouldn't completely write him off returning, but I do see it more as like a last resort kind of a thing, or at least very low on the totem pole. Josh Winkowski, a couple of years ago, he was showing some pretty good things, but just hasn't really had it over the last year or so. So I'm not very surprised about that. Connor Wong, the Red Sox have avoided arbitration with him. And, it's funny because this past year, we were all calling for Connor Wong's roster spot to, get taken over by someone else because the guy couldn't hit. We come to find out he was dealing with some injuries later on in the year. He started looking a little better towards the end of the season, but Connor Wong, I think he brings more value than you would think. Sure, you look at the slash line, there's not really a whole lot of offense there, but he did make some strides defensively this year, but he's also very good with the pitching staff. So that's something to keep in mind. The big story with Connor Wong this year was what he did with Aroldis Chapman, saying, hey, throw the ball right here, and Aroldis Chapman all of a sudden figured out he was able to kick it into a new gear, and he ended up being one of the best closers in baseball this year. So Connor Wong, he does have, I think, a pretty good influence on the pitching staff here. In the end, you're not really paying him a whole lot of money, but thought that was interesting that they just completely avoided arbitration and they just got a deal done. And I think that shows the Red Sox, they value him more than maybe a lot of us out there when we simply just look at the stats. As for the 40-man roster, David Sandlin, Shane Drohan, and Tyler Uberstein getting selected to the 40-man roster. Now, David Sandlin, I am expecting to see him at some point this year. He was looking good as a starter last year, but they were also managing his workload. They did put him into the bullpen later in the year, and we're all wondering if maybe he could end up getting called up at some point, but the transition to a relief role didn't go exactly as planned. Did struggle out of the bullpen. Routine is such a big thing with these pitchers, man. And with Sandlin, throwing more innings than he had in his career, going into a new role, it just didn't work out fully. But the guy's got great stuff, nasty slider, big velo. I will not be surprised at all if you see David Sandlin at some point this year. Shane Drohan, remember he had some injuries a little while back. He went to the Rule 5 draft, ended up coming back to the Red Sox. He had a couple of more injuries, but has looked pretty good when he has been healthy. He's really just depth at this point. And Uberstein, that's a guy, there is some upside there. He's a very late round pick a little while back. Had some decent numbers last year. Had a 27% strikeout rate this past season with an 8% walk rate. Bit undersized, but that's another guy who also had to get Tommy John at one point. But maybe that's a guy that you could see at some point. But also the Red Sox making some interesting moves. Bringing in some catching depth within the organization. And I'm looking at someone like Luke Heyman here. Now, Luke Heyman, keep your eyes on him. This is a guy, he was just drafted by the Mariners not too long ago. With Luke Heyman, obviously still very far away, but with the Mariners, they're set at the catcher position for quite a long time. You got Cal Raleigh, Harry Ford, but with Luke Heyman, sure, he's a 14th round pick, but this is a guy that put up some decent numbers while he was at Florida in college. He also had some injuries of his own. He had a fractured forearm not too long ago, but this past season he hit really well. Batted .301 with a .397 on base and a .578 slugging with 13 home runs, and did drop that strikeout rate a little bit. Again, he got hurt. He had a fracture in his forearm. He only played 49 games, but this is a big guy. 6'4", 220 pounds, right-handed hitter, pulls the ball very well, hits velo very well. Now, he did have some trouble against the off-speed pitches, according to Baseball America's scouting report here, but the fact that he already has the ability to turn around on velo pretty well and pull very well. The Red Sox, they've done very well when it comes to developing position players within the organization. Look out for him down the road. He's still very far away, but I wonder if this is a guy, you get him into this developmental system, maybe they help him a little bit out, with the off-speed pitches, working on, just cleaning up more of that plate discipline. And I wonder if that's a guy that maybe down the road could pop up on some radars out there. Now, for Baseball America, they give the hit tool a 40, Power at a 55, though. Has a good arm. Has a 55 graded arm. So there's some tools here to work with. Also, the Red Sox, they acquired Ronnie Hernandez. They ended up, in both these deals, they sent, it was Brennan Bernardino and Chris Murphy. Now, Chris Murphy, hold on, I'm going blank. So Brennan Bernardino, he went to the Rockies. I'll talk about him in just a second. And Chris Murphy went to the White Sox. Now, Luke Heyman, we sent out Alex Hoppe going to the Mariners, so that was the exchange there. Now, Brennan Bernardino, that's an interesting one, right? This guy was an absolute workhorse out of the Red Sox bullpen. Every day, Bernie. This guy was just coming out. It felt like every single day. He was solid for the Red Sox. I think in the end, with Bernardino, they want more swing and miss out of the bullpen. With the Red Sox bullpen this past year, not really the strikeouts that I think they were looking for. Of course, Aroldis Chapman, Garrett Whitlock, they were great, but they do need more swing and miss back there. And with Bernardino, a guy that he's going to pitch more to contact, a bit more of a funky guy, I could actually see him maybe pitching pretty well out there in Colorado. A guy, that's what I think works out in Colorado, just funkiness. I think those kind of pitchers tend to figure it out there. So, hey, maybe that could be a bit of a diamond in the rough for the Rockies moving forward. But Bernardino, hey, very happy with what he did for the Red Sox. He came up with some clutch moments, coming out of the bullpen in some tight spots. Sure, had some down moments as well, but this is a guy that you could count on a lot to really give you a lot of innings. And we were starting to feel bad for Bernardino at one point. It felt like he was just coming out of the bullpen every single day. But Bernardino, thank you for your service, my friend. Best of luck out in Colorado. But also Chris Murphy going to the White Sox. And back in return, the Red Sox got Ronnie Hernandez. More so just catching depth. Sox prospects. Sorry if you can't see my screen very well here. Let me see if I can pull that up. All right. Well, I cannot pull this up. I don't know what is going on. Let me see if I can do this. There we go. That's a little better. All right. So the scouting report from Sox prospects: solid frame, strong contact skills, not a power threat, solid average defensive backstop with an inconsistent arm, struggles throwing out would-be base stealers. So a guy that maybe he has something there when it comes to the frame, does put the bat on the ball quite a bit. So it's kind of one of those things where maybe the Red Sox, they see a bit of a base here and they can just try to keep adding to it. We'll see what ends up happening. But, hey, it does not hurt to add some catching depth within the organization. Don't think that's a bad thing whatsoever. Now, when it comes to potential trades this coming off season, when I had my Twitter, before it got hacked, I did put out a tweet after they were getting all this catching depth. I was saying probably most likely the Red Sox are not going to be acquiring any top catching prospects from the Kansas City Royals. And I was hinting at a Jarren Duran trade. I know the Royals, they've been a popular destination when it comes to mock trades for Jarren Duran. They got the two catching prospects there. I don't know. I never saw the Red Sox really going after guys like that. Obviously, because you have Carlos Narvaez there. You got Johan Friend down to the minors. I just felt like, I don't know, didn't really see either of those guys coming over from Kansas City. Not surprised to see them add some depth, though. They were a little thin, in my opinion. So I think that's good. But also, we got one more guy. Here. Tristan Gray. That was another move from this past week. The Red Sox sending Luis Guerrero to the Rays. Now, Luis Guerrero, this was a guy that I thought had some good potential. Good velo, some pretty good stuff, but he struggled with the command. That was something he just couldn't seem to figure out. Sounds like the perfect guy for the Rays, right? They've taken these guys before that have had some command issues, and they've gotten them back on track. Would not be surprised at all if you're seeing Luis Guerrero out of the Rays bullpen at some point. But the Red Sox got back Tristan Gray, more of an older minor leaguer, about to turn 30 years old. He's been around for a little while. You go back all the way to 2017. He was drafted by the Pirates. He was in the Rays system for a while. Went to Oakland, went to Miami, went to the White Sox. He bounced around, and then he ended up with the Rays this past year. He actually got called up to the major leagues. He did go to the majors in 2023, only for a couple of games, but this past year he was there for 30 games. And, with Tristan Gray, this is a guy who's got some pretty good bat speed. He's got some good pop. Taking a look at the numbers here, 2022 to 2023, he hit a combined 63 home runs. So there is something there with him. Now, Fangraphs, when it comes to the scouting report, they give him a 50 hit. They give him a 45 power, 45 on the raw power. Not really a whole lot of speed. He's got 40 on the speed. He'll be decent in the field. But when I saw that the Red Sox acquired him, and when I started just kind of digging in a little bit, I thought to myself, okay, this is a guy that he's shown he has pop. He has versatility as well. He can play second base. He can play shortstop. He can play first base. He can play third base. This is exactly the kind of a guy that I see the Red Sox going after more of these days. You take a look at Nate Eaton this past year, and they ended up getting a lot of solid production out of him. They've plucked these guys. Even Romy Gonzalez, for crying out loud. I mean, they plucked him out of nowhere, and look what he ended up doing for the Red Sox here. So I wonder if Tristan Gray, if they feel like they can maybe squeeze something out of this guy, right? He's about to go into his 30s. Maybe they feel like they could get a little something out of him. He has that versatility. We'll see if he ends up making any kind of an impact with the Red Sox this year. We will see. But that is it for the roster news. And we got a couple other things to talk about here. We got a little something from Alex Spire of the Boston Globe and not Lou Merloni, my goodness. It's time for bed, everybody. It's very late here. But John Morosi, Alex Spire, they talked about only adding one bat. Now, it's nice to see the Red Sox in the rumor mill going after some bats. And, we all expected that. But I think we were all expecting, okay, hey, let's bring back Alex Bregman. Let's not stop there, though. You got to go after a Kyle Schwarber, a Pete Alonso. You need Bregman back in that number 2 spot in the lineup, but you also needed to add some power on top of that. We all saw what the lineup looked like this past year. Especially when Roman Anthony came in the fold, and you had Bregman there, and you had your lineup. You saw what it could do this past year. But they only ranked 15th in home runs. They needed more from what we saw this past year. So seeing reports from Morosi and Spire, not very encouraging to me. I'll get into that in just a second, but we do have a word from our sponsor. I'll be right back.
Holiday shopping season is here, and we have you covered from head to toe.
Let's talk about an area that's not quite close to the toes. Let's get crazy with this holiday season. Yeah, that's MeUndies I'm spinning around, but the holiday season, now you can get MeUndies with some holiday prints on them.
That's right, ridiculously soft fabric holiday prints, matching holiday prints with your special person, or you can coordinate PJs for the family photo. And right now you can get up to 50% off with the code FOUL. We rock MeUndies. You should too. We're talking over 30 million pairs sold. Knock out all your holiday gifting needs today with MeUndies to get exclusive holiday deals up to, yep, I said it, 50% off. Go to MeUndies.com/foul and enter promo code FOUL. That's MEUNDIES.com/FOUL. Promo code FOUL for up to 50% off.
Alrighty, let's get back to it, shall we? Let's get back to it. So again, the rumor mill, it is nice to see that the Red Sox are involved here. But this is not what I want to be hearing. I want to be hearing more. I need more than this. We had this from John Morosi this past week, saying, how serious are the Red Sox pursuing a reunion with Kyle Schwarber? Pursuit is the word that I will use right now as opposed to hot pursuit. I can confirm that, yes, the Red Sox have checked in on Kyle Schwarber. Unfortunately, I can't play the audio for you. I would have downloaded the video. I probably couldn't have downloaded it from here because it was from MLB Network. You have the download feature on X, but because I'm locked out of my freaking account, I can't download it because it's a premium feature. So I'm on my backup account and I can't do that here. So sorry, I'm not paying money for 2 different accounts. But one thing that he did say towards the end of this conversation was that the Red Sox are going after Alex Bregman, or the chances of them landing, I can't remember how he worded it. Basically just saying it's going to be one of Alex Bregman or a middle of the order bat. I'm paraphrasing there. That to me is not enough, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we all agree. And listen, I'm not trying to be greedy. I'm not trying to be that guy here. I'm not trying to say, hey, we got to go land every single free agent, you know? You got the Blue Jays fans out there. They're going to do that every single day. The Dodger fans, the Yankee fans. I think we know exactly what we need. Bring Bregman back. Bring a middle of the order bat. Bring in a middle of the order bat. Bring in a number 2 behind Garrett Crochet. Maybe a reliever. I think you're pretty good, right? We're not expecting them to go after all these free agents out there. I think we're being pretty realistic when we say the Red Sox need 2 bats in the lineup. Now, let's go over this. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what is more realistic. I've been trying to think about this the last couple of days. Is it more realistic to just bring back Bregman? Or is it, if you were to pick just one, is it more realistic for Bregman? Or is it more realistic to add Schwarber or Alonso? Let's say you added one of those guys, right? One of those guys is your cleanup hitter. Well, I mean, I don't know. Bregman to me was the glue at the top of the order, right? When Roman came in, my goodness, like the guy was just epic out of the leadoff spot. One of the best leadoff hitters in all of baseball. I think he should be in the leadoff spot, personally. That's just me. Can you make the argument for him to bat number 2? I mean, absolutely. He'll be good anywhere in the lineup, but I just love his on-base skills. I love what he can do to start the game. The Red Sox lineup just felt different this past year when he was at the top. I don't know. To me, wherever you bat him, I think he's going to be fine. He's going to be great. So, can you get by? Let's say Bregman goes to Detroit. He goes to the Phillies or wherever. Goes to the Savannah Bananas. I don't even know. Roman, I would imagine if Bregman doesn't come back, Roman would probably bat second. But then again, well, who would bat leadoff at that point? I don't know. So at that point, I mean, Duran? Well, I guess Duran would bat leadoff. But Duran, he was just so inconsistent this past year. I actually thought Duran was so much better in the number 3 spot. I don't know. Duran, he was just so up and down. So, to me, I felt more comfortable with Roman batting leadoff. That's just me. So, I don't know, man. I just feel like if Bregman is the guy, is the only guy that you bring him back and you kind of just run it back, Casas comes back at some point, Meyer ends up playing more full-time. I don't know. It just feels underwhelming to me because I think you need to keep building. I think you need to keep up the aggressiveness. I think you need to add Bregman and one more. And again, I'm not trying to sound greedy. Now, let's say Bregman is the guy and that's it. And they bring in a number 2, bullpen help, and that ends up being it. All right. Well, I actually wonder, now, when John Morosi and Alex Spire, when they were talking about one or the other, does that eliminate the possibility of going for a trade? There could be some bats maybe out there. Now, when it comes to Ketel Marte, I don't know. I'm not sold that the Diamondbacks are going to move him. He's a really good player on a very good deal. I don't know. I just have a hard time imagining that. If they move him, I'll be honest, I'd be shocked because he's so good. Could you do some kind of a deal? You know, I've seen the idea floated around. Lou Merlone spoke about it the other day. I believe the guys on Just Baseball have talked about it, where you send Duran, maybe a pitching prospect along with him, and you go get Ketel Marte. As a Red Sox fan, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I could totally see it. But do I see the Diamondbacks doing that? I don't know. I don't know if they would go for that. I mean, would you want, Corbin Carroll, Jarren Duran in the same lineup? That'd be pretty fun. I don't know. I mean, could the Diamondbacks use some more pitching too? Absolutely. Who knows what's going to happen with Zach Gallen? Merrill Kelly, is he going to go back? Corbin Burns, he's on the shelf. So you could say, yeah, they could use some more pitching over there. So on paper, I think that trade works. But it's a matter of, do the Diamondbacks feel like that's good for them? I don't know. And then I could also see maybe even the Red Sox front office saying, hey, well, we got to take on Ketel Marte, even though it is a pretty friendly contract. I could totally see the Red Sox trying to use leverage and saying, oh, hey, we got to take on the rest of his contract. So we don't want to have to give up Peyton Tolley or Connolly early. I could see the Red Sox front office doing something like that. So the question is, if the Red Sox are only going to acquire one bat, is that just free agency? Or does that also include the trade market? We'll see. I think there's a lot of avenues here, and the feeling that I'm getting is the Red Sox, they're letting things play out. And I don't think they obviously have a pretty strong stance in what they need, but I also think they're kind of playing it cool at the same time. They're not going head over heels to try and bring back Bregman. They could have got an extension done all year, and they didn't do it. All right. I've said before, I don't think Bregman's market is very strong. I think there are teams out there that could go get him. But I think the Red Sox, they're comfortable in saying, hey, we feel like his market's not very strong. There's a good chance that he could end up just coming back to us. But I also think, too, that the Red Sox think even if he doesn't come back, we would love to have him back, but we could move on without him. I think they would like to have him, but if they didn't get him back, I feel like they wouldn't think it's the end of the world. I think it would be a mistake to not bring him back. I think he just brought so much to the table. That's just me. That's just my opinion. You know, you all know how I feel about Bregman. I think he was so great in so many ways. Good for the clubhouse. Solid player on the field. Had the quad injury, sure, but I think he just brought so much to this team. And not just this team, but this organization, right? I don't know. That's just my opinion personally. But that's how I wonder with the Red Sox front office. I think they're playing, in a way, a bit hard to get, if that makes sense. But I also think they're playing it cool, and I think they're just waiting, right? And I think that you've seen Craig. He could turn around really quick, and he can go get something done. We saw it last offseason. Max Fried, all that was going on. They ended up going to the Yankees. The very next day, he turns to the White Sox and gets Garrett Crochet. So he's shown the ability to not get impatient, but he could also act very decisively at the same time. So I think that, but that's kind of this whole offseason so far. It's not just the Red Sox. You're not seeing anyone do anything. There is just nothing happening. Josh Naylor went back to the Mariners. You're seeing all these little transactional moves, but you saw the trade of Grayson Rodriguez. That was completely out of left field. Other than that, you haven't really seen anything. There's not really a whole lot going on. You got the winter meetings coming up here in a couple of weeks. I'm sure things are going to start to pick up here, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But if you are watching this on Nesson, I do have to wrap it up right there. We do have a few more things to talk about for tonight's show. But if you want to see the rest of the show, come on over to YouTube, Monster Territory, and see what I got to say. But everybody on Nesson, I'll talk to you next time. So let's get to this. Again, I'm a little disappointed about that report because I would love for the Red Sox to bring back Bregman and also bring in Alonso and Schwarber. I'll say this. I can understand where Alex Spear and John Morosi could be getting those reports from or why they may be hearing these things. And Spear actually said this as well because the Red Sox don't want to get themselves tied up into too much risk. I understand that point of view. That is something to pay attention to, right? Because Bregman is now in his 30s. He's only going to get older. You don't know what the durability is going to look like, right? You're going to be paying this guy big money. Okay? I can understand, all right, one or the other. Same thing with Alonso, right? Going into his 30s, probably more of a DH moving forward. Do you want to tie yourself up into two guys that are going to be in their 30s making big money? I don't know. That's where I think the Red Sox maybe have some pause. And they could say, you know what, we're okay with doing one. We'll see. And same thing with Schwarber. Now, I'll say this with Schwarber. I wonder, I'm truly curious about this. The front office, how much of the front office is in favor of Schwarber or Alonso? What's the percentage? I'm very intrigued about that. Could it just be an even split? Because there's arguments for both. Schwarber, the arguments for him is obviously he's Schwarber. He played for the Red Sox a few years ago. Cora loves him. He played great for the Red Sox. He's gotten even better since then. But, and another thing too, is the contract would probably be shorter than, say, Pete Alonso, who could get 5 or 6 years. Alonso, you're probably looking at, Alonso probably get 5 or 6 years. Schwarber, you're probably looking at like 4 or 5, right? 5 max. So I think the Red Sox look at that and say, well, we wouldn't be tied up to a contract as long for Pete Alonso. But the advantage with Alonso is you don't have to give up a draft pick. You don't have to give up international signing money. So I kind of see both sides there. And I think that they would a good amount prefer Alonso and giving up the draft pick and the international signing money because they wouldn't be tied into a contract as long. So I'm looking at it from that point of view. Alonso has the arguments as well, right? Honestly, to me, I think it's chocolate or vanilla. It's both are good. Just pick one, right? That's kind of where I'm at with either. But I understand the risk point of view. Bregman and Alonso or Schwarber? Well, that's a lot of money tied up to, two guys that are in their 30s making, but probably both going to be around $30 million per year, right? Give or take. So that's where I wonder, could it be one of them and then a trade? I don't know. That's one thing that I think got left out in that. Because I think they were just talking about free agency. Trade market? Maybe. I don't know. The Royals. Do I see the Royals giving up Vinny Pasquantino? I don't know. In a Jarren Duran trade? They need outfield offense, but Jack Caglione, that could be a guy that he could be a massive bat in Kansas City, but he needs to kind of earn it first, right? He needs to, show that he can hit at the major league level. He came up this past year and he had a lot of struggles, right? Do they want to just give him the first base job? I don't know. Could they trade Pasquantino and go after another first baseman? I don't know. Could you do Pasquantino for Duran? I think they would need to have a fallback option. To me, I don't know. I just think giving up Pasquantino over 30 home runs and a guy that's a middle of the order bat to get Duran. Well, first off, I'll say this. It would take Pasquantino and more to get Duran. Pasquantino, he's a solid first baseman, but for a first baseman, you kind of want a bit more production. I know 30 home runs sounds like a lot, but WRC plus was only around a 115. You kind of want a bit more out of your first baseman, right? And those are good numbers, but you want more than that because the positional value is not very high, so you want more value out of the bat. So, I don't know. You would need to do more than Pasquantino. Bubic? I don't know. He had shoulder problems last year. I don't know. To me, Cole Reagans would be the guy I would go after, but I don't think the Royals would do that. So, that's just me. I don't know if the Royals are great trade partners. I could definitely be wrong on that. I'm definitely wrong a lot. I don't know. I look at the Reds. To me, I keep looking at the Reds. I think Duran, trading him, if you could do a Ketel Marte trade, I would like that. I would. I think that could help out because if the Diamondbacks are okay doing it. That's the big holdup that I have is would the teams want to do it? It does feel a little bit MLB The Show-ish But it kind of lines up too. Because Duran, Marte, they got good control left. Marte is making money, but not a ton. Still very good. And Duran, it would give them a bat back into their lineup to basically replace him, but then he would also put some pitching with him that the Diamondbacks could use. So there's also been reports of Ketel Marte with clubhouse issues. I don't know, but then people have come out and stood up for him. So I don't know what the deal is there. I don't know. He just seems to be on the rumor mill every single day. I don't know. If there was a bat that I would trade Duran for, that seems to be a pretty good fit if Bregman doesn't come back. Because then Marte can play second and Marcelo Myers are third baseman. So that's the way I see it. To me, I think Duran to the Cincinnati Reds makes a ton of sense. I don't know. If you could find a way to get Hunter Green, that to me is like the perfect scenario for both teams. The Reds need offense. The Red Sox need a number 2. That to me is the perfect situation. I don't know. That's just me. But let's move on here. Let's move on. What do we got going on here in the chat? What do we got going on? Justin Slayton Enjoyer, Pete makes so much sense. Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense, right? Schwarber does too. Either one of those guys makes sense. What do we got here? Phoenix, I think the Royals trade Reagans for Durant. I mean, listen, if they can get Reagans, I'd be cool with that. What else we got here? Justin Slayton, Lou made a solid point about the D-backs needing outfield help, so maybe move an outfielder. Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think that works. It's just a matter of, do these teams want to do it? To us, yeah, we see it, but do the Diamondbacks feel like the juice is worth the squeeze? Maybe if you include Peyton Tolley. Marte's good, man. They're not going to give him up easily. I don't know. I think we also saw Corey Seager in the rumor mill the last couple of days. What's up with that one? I haven't been on Twitter. I'm sorry, I keep bringing this up, but that's the one thing I hate about this whole thing of my account getting hacked is I haven't been on Twitter. I just went onto the backup account, but I don't have all the accounts that I'm following. So I was on the interwebs earlier today, and I come across a Corey Seager report. I guess it was more speculative than anything, and I'm thinking, well, why? Corey Seager's getting moved? What are you talking about? No, I don't think he's going to get moved. Yeah, it's just interesting. It's interesting. But Alex Cora, I'll go through this pretty quick. Let's see. Alex Cora. He went on Foul Territory. Remember, Cora came on the show last year. Before we actually joined Foul Territory, we were called Fenway Faithful a year ago. And Cora came on Fenway Faithful. So, pretty interesting to think about, right? One of our first big guests ever on this channel was Alex Cora himself. But yeah, he pretty much dove into a lot of things, saying, making it to the postseason was great, but you want to go deeper than they did, obviously. But he says he wants the Red Sox front office to remain aggressive. We'll see what the plan ends up being, right? Again, is it only going to be one bat in free agency? Could it be 2 bats overall, 1 free agency, 1 through a trade? We'll see. I actually like that he said this. Craig Breslow, he came up. Cora said he had a great offseason last year. He's done a lot of good things. Sure, the trade deadline wasn't amazing. Breslow probably had opportunities to pull the trigger on some big deals, I think. I just don't think he was fully ready to, so he settled for Dustin May and Steven Matz. I felt like my take from it, he felt like they weren't in the best prime position at the deadline. I probably would have, I don't know. You're looking at maybe Merrill Kelly. There's a good chance he would have had to give up Connolly early for him. Maybe it ends up being a blessing in disguise. Sometimes the move you don't make ends up being the best one. All right, we'll see. But I agree. Craig Breslow, he had an amazing offseason last year. I don't know why he still gets, people still pick on him. I don't know. He talks here. Red Sox defense gets a C+. Said we have to improve. I agree. I think that's an underrated thing for the Red Sox this offseason. They need to do something there. I think Marcelo Meyer fixes a lot of that. He needs to stay healthy, of course. He talked about Cedar Rafaela being in center field. Yeah, I agree. Keep him out in center field. I don't want this guy to keep playing second base. It makes no sense. Stop putting him at second base, unless it's like for a game or two, or a week. He needs to be out in center field. You saw when when he went to second base, the bat just wasn't fully the same. We talked about Tristan Casas. Tristan is a big part of what we're trying to accomplish, but we got to get him healthy. I'm very interested in Tristan Casas. We also got a report this past week that Casas is on the trade block. That's kind of hard to see because he's obviously rehabbing and has not been cleared or anything yet. Unless a team out there is comfortable taking him in because they see the power upside that he has, he does have trade value still. He does. Something to pay attention to with him, right? So I don't think you're going to be able to get much for him. If the Red Sox came across an opportunity where they could really improve the team, but the team wanted Casas back, I would personally not be surprised if he got moved. It really depends on if a team would want to take him in. I don't know what teams out there, teams needing offense. Like the Marlins, for example. Let's say you had an opportunity to maybe acquire Sandy Alcantara. Maybe they would want Casas back. You look at the Reds. Could that be something where if you're sending back Duran, if you got a deal maybe for Hunter Green, maybe they want Casas. Hey, we want the power upside bat. We want Duran. We want this pitching prospect. We want that prospect. But we also want Casas as a throw-in. I wonder, could you have a situation like that at some point? He said here with Seti, the one thing I truly believe that we can accomplish is if we're going to be aggressive, we have to make sure we do damage early in the counts. He explains that he wants to challenge Cedar Rafaela offensively. Now, I think it's the little things with Seti, right? We saw how aggressive he was this past year. But if you're going to be, you actually need to do the damage, right? Seti, I think, was over-aggressive at times. He's a young bat still. I actually would not be surprised at all to see him take yet another step forward. These are just little things that you can continue to improve. He came up in a lot of clutch spots this past year. So keep making small adjustments, and maybe we see even better from Seti this coming year. And maybe it's just those little situations, right? 1-0 counts, first pitch swinging, right? Can we see a bit of an improvement? He goes on to say here, there is a debate on whether Roman leads off, hits second, or hits fourth. He said, we're really far away from the best version of Roman Anthony, but the one we have right now and the one we're going to have next year is really, really good. I think the answer to this, I want Roman Anthony leading off, and I want Alex Bregman hitting second. That's what I want right now. If Bregman does not come back, I think what you do see is Duran leading off. Not my preferred option, but if you still have Duran at that point, just putting that out there. Let's say you don't have Duran or Bregman. What do you do there? Let's imagine that. Who is your leadoff hitter if you don't have either Bregman or Duran? Let's say you trade Duran, you go get an SP2 or Ketel Marte. I don't know. I don't know. Is Roman hitting second in that spot, or is Roman leading off? I think you would probably have Roman lead off in that situation because he was so good in that spot. So, let's say you got Ketel Marte. Marte would bat second, right? Third. I don't know, but the whole point is you want a middle of the order bat. Well, let's say Bregman doesn't come back. Well, if let's say you go get Pete Alonso or Kyle Schwarber. Let's say it ends up being Schwarber and Ketel Marte. Well, yeah, Roman leads off in that spot. Marte probably bats second. Schwarber bats third. Story bats fourth. Willier bats fifth. That's the way I see it. So, it comes down to who's coming back, who's not. All right? We'll see. I think he had a couple more things. He actually says he talks to Alex Bregman a lot. And listen, we're not going to dive really deep into that. It's okay to have relationships, outside of just what you do on the baseball field, right? They go back to their Houston days. If Bregman ends up going to Detroit, for example, I guarantee they're still going to end up talking a lot. It's okay to be friends, right? Just because they talk all the time. I think that definitely helps for Bregman to come back. But you got to remember, they are just people at the end of the day. But that was pretty much it from Alex Cora here. That was pretty much that. And that is pretty much it for the show here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I think I am out of things to spit out of my mouth. I think that's all I got. I do want to thank you all for coming by tonight. Again, I'll say it one more time. I know I keep bringing it up, but I do apologize about the Twitter account. I apologize about posts about buying a new house and buying a new truck. I wish that were me, but I can proudly say that is also not me. I would like a truck. That would be very nice. A new house would be very good too. But no, that's not me. So please disregard that. I really am trying to get that worked out. Trust me, I have tried filing a report probably about 50 times over the last couple of days. I keep trying to send in a new one. It keeps telling me I'm in the queue. So whoever's in charge of all that stuff there at the headquarters, I have not come up yet. So I keep trying to send in a new one, thinking, okay, maybe this time it'll work, but it keeps telling me I'm still in the queue. So I don't know. So anything that gets posted there, don't unfollow though. I don't want to lose followers. I mean, that I don't want that because I want to be I want to be able to talk to all your friendly faces out there. So don't unfollow me. I promise you, I'll get it worked out. We'll figure it out. But everybody, I'm out of here. I'm tired. I'm actually going to be going away on a trip. Not really a trip, but like a long drive tomorrow. I'm driving down a few hours to go hang out with some family. So I'm going to be away this weekend, but I might be back Sunday night. If anything happens over the weekend, if we get any big news, I'll be back here Sunday night to talk about it. Next week at some point, we are going to have one of the guys from Baseball America coming on, talking about the updated prospect rankings. That'll be fun. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And I'm trying to get as many guests as we can. We've been doing great with the guests as of late. We had Sam Kennedy, Tim Healy, Lou Merlone. We'll see who else we can get. I got to get my X account back because that's the way I contact these people. So it's tough, man. It's tough. But I'm out of here, everybody. Go enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you next time.